Hey everybody, welcome to the workshop. On today's episode, we're going to be working on the mini mill here. During the move, or I should say after the move, when I was getting ready to get everything situated, I was pulling out the mill to get it put into place, and I ended up finding out that the cord got crushed badly here. So that means that the plug is no longer usable. Now, the rest of the cord is good, the machine is good, but this is no bueno. So I'm going to need to replace this plug. So I've already bought a new plug for it, and so this is what we're going to be doing today. It's a pretty easy project. There's nothing really complicated or hard about this. You just need to know which wire to go on which lug. So this is what I'm going to be showing you today on Adam's Workshop. Okay, first thing that we need is we're going to need a plug. And we are looking at a 3-prong plug here. So you're going to have power, you're going to have neutral, and you're going to have a ground. That's what these 3 plugs are for. And just by looking at it on the outside, you really can't tell which is going to be the power and which is going to be the neutral, but you can always discern which is going to be the ground. The ground is going to be this guy right here, the one that's all curled up right here. But we'll have to know which one is which once we get in here. So we have this, and then as far as tools, we're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver. We're going to need some wire strippers, and if you don't have wire strippers, you can do this with a knife. Now, this is not the preferred method for doing this, not the safest, not the preferred. Wire strippers is going to be the best bet. However, if you don't have wire strippers and this is the only project you got and you don't want to go off and have to buy a new tool, well, I would suggest going off and buying the new tool, because this is a great excuse to buy tools. So first step is we want to take off this portion here so we can gain access to it. And you got 3 right here. This is just loosening up. This portion right here is just the grip for the cord, so that way it clamps down on it. We just want it to be wide enough so we can easily get the cable through there. So then we have these 3 screws, and we're going to take those off completely. And it comes right on out. Now, what we have is the 3 lugs right here. 1, 2, and 3. Now, as I said, ground is really easy to be able to see which one it is. It looks different from the other 3. Like I say, it's this one that's all curled up. You look on the inside of this particular one. Now, these do tend to look a little bit different, but this one has a little cover over it that says GR, indicating ground. And then the most or biggest way that you can tell a ground is they usually end up painting the screw in green. So that way you know this is the ground. So we can see that this is the ground. Now for the other 2 here, and I hope I can get this clear, here and here. And what we have is this one right here. The screw looks like a gold color. This screw over here has got more of a silver color. Now, those colors mean something. What they mean is the silver is you're going to have the white wire on the cord is going to be the neutral. So the neutral is going to go on the silver lug. The gold lug is where the power is going to be. So the gold is going to be the power. Now, typically, at least in America, make that clear, I'm in America. I know other countries like to do different things. So here in America, what we have typically is going to have a black wire, a white wire, and then a green wire. Green, ground, pretty simple, then the white and the black. Black, in this particular case, is going to typically be your power. That is going to go to your gold lug. The white wire in a cable like this is going to be your neutral. That is going to go on your silver lug here. So that's how we're going to end up wiring this in. So we have this, and we have our wire strippers. So next thing we need to do is take it, and this one does have cutters right here, but if you have another set of diagonal cutters, those work really well as well. and we're just going to cut it off. They don't go all the way through. Cut it off. So the next thing is we're going to have to strip the wire back, and something to be aware of when you're stripping the wire back. First thing you're going to have to do is strip the insulation off the wires, because if you can see right into here, your wires are in here and they have separate insulation for them, but then you have the whole cable is wrapped in insulation as well. So you're going to have to cut the insulation off. So the first thing to do is that. But when we go to cut the insulation back so that way we can plug it in, what we want to do is be able to have just enough wire exposed so that way when we put it inside of here and tighten down the lug, we don't have a bunch of access hanging out. Access wire hanging out could be bad because then it could short out. So now obviously safety first. This thing is obviously unplugged because we just cut the plug off. So everything is good. We don't have to worry about any of that at the moment because we're in full control of everything. So there's nothing to be concerned about at that point. But we want to make sure that that's what we're doing, just enough to be able to do that. So we don't need to strip it all the way back. Now the outer insulation, we want to strip back enough so that way we can get to them and each wire can get to here without being pulled on. We don't want that excess stress. So if you're kind of wondering how much to do, you can always take your cord here and say just a little bit shy, maybe about to the point where this split is right here on there. Give just a little bit extra and say, okay, I'm going to strip it right here. And on this one, I can use the largest one, and be careful too because you can end up going right on into it. If you're somebody who's really good with a knife, then you can use this, but always be careful when using a knife because you can cut yourself. So I'm going to use the largest hole on this one, which is not the correct size for this, but what I'm going to do is put it in here, and then I'm just going to kind of chew on it a little bit, if you will, to kind of break the outer insulation, and then I'm going to pull it over. And as you can see, now I got that off of there and I didn't break any of the insulation on any of the wires. So now I'm going to pull back some of the little fuzzies here, stuff that we don't need. This is getting annoying. And we're going to cut the little hairs off. Because we don't need those and they're getting in the way. Okay, time to bust out the knife. Okay. So now we can double check by putting it in here and seeing that it comes to about there. So we should be good on our length. So next, we're going to strip each one of the wires. And so, like I said, we can do it this way. So what we can do is put the wire inside of there till it pretty much bottoms out and say, okay, that's about how much wire we need to strip back. So that way it's in full contact when we crimp it down, but we don't want the insulation underneath there because then we won't get a good contact. Once I get done stripping the insulation back, these are stranded wires, so I like to twist them so that way it's a little bit more solid and you don't have everything just kind of fraying out everywhere. So I'll pull this one back now that we're done with that one, or pull both of them back. And now I'm going to do the next one. And I can just look at the first one and say, okay, I want it to be about there as well. Oops. And lastly, we do the ground. Okay, so next thing is, and this is important, it's so easy to forget we need to put this part on first. So we feed it through and then just let that slide down, hang on there. So the next step is to get everything plugged in and tightened up, and I got one that is okay. That one was right up against there and just hung up. Okay. Now, does it matter which one you plug in first? No, because we're plugging in all three of them. Like I said, there's no power here. There's no chance for electrical shock or anything like that because we're in total control over it. So you can just plug in whichever one you want to start with. So I'm going to start with the black wire, which is our power wire, and it goes to the gold lug. Put it in there, and like I said, it's okay to have enough showing that you can see, but you want to make sure that it's in there fully and that the insulation is not up underneath the lug here. Otherwise, that won't be a good seat. We won't get good connection, rather. So I snug it down, re-grip it, and tighten it down thoroughly. Pull on it, give it a little tug, make sure it's not going anywhere. Make sure it's tightened down. Now we can go to the next one, the neutral wire, which goes on the silver lug. Oops. Once again, before tightening it down, make sure that the insulation is not up underneath it. And then lastly, the ground. Okay. Everything is tightened up, checked, nothing is pulling out. Now we pull the bottom back up. And now we can screw it back down. And lastly, the cord grip. And now we have ourselves a repaired plug. So now we can go and test it out and make sure everything works. And we have power. Excellent. So now my mini mill is up and ready to go. So whenever I'm ready to do a little bit of metalworking, I got some brass right here. I've used this before for making Christmas presents, making signs, making brass inlays and everything. So this machine is not very big and beefy, but it works great for a hobbyist, let's see if I can say it right, like myself. And so it is nice to have it back up and running. So I hope you found value in this video. I hope this helps you out. And if it does, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see y'all again next time in the workshop.